the big bowl. Since this is our last class until we break for the summer, we have giveaways for tonight. Put your name on this piece of paper and we're going to put it in the bowl for a little later.
Is this yours?
All right, to give away.
Oh, look at this one. Oh.
Do what?
Put your name.
I don't know, I can't get a hold of them to ask them, so they don't answer me.
Melissa.
Yes. Oh.
Oh, I know, and I tried calling them last night, and they didn't get it.
Takes me forever to
I've been
write.
busy all day and really haven't had time. But, it's for you people that are listening to call them and ask. Oh, no, there's a difference. See, they think they matter because nobody calls, so they just wait and ask me.
Can you watch that? No, but that's equipment. Be careful.
It's special time.
All of them. No, man. I know, I was already talking, you said you could tell me.
Fall, first day of fall, the 23rd.
She was trying to take her place, I think.
Now, I can.
I think that would be a good place for leadership to do a retreat.
I used to live here. We lived in France right on the Swiss border. My dad.
I'm going to do it till 5, see if anybody else shows up.
I just wondered if.
See pizza. Okay.
Last night. Oh, so they ever said anything about?
I had a good day. I always have a good
I
day.
had a great day. I didn't work today.
I'm off tomorrow. We're
I
going to
work
go.
tomorrow.
We're going to go see the new Star Trek movie and then I'm going to get
My,
a double feature.
my eldest son said the new Star Trek is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I figure if he said he's a theater critic anyway. And
Oh.
I think that he said it was pretty good.
Trying to figure out how to mention.
I don't have a choice. My husband's a big Star Trek fan.
Next
So.
week from.
I'm pretty good. I like it
Friday
too.
morning, I'll be unavailable.
I like the originals. I don't know myself.
My favorite series really that they did was Enterprise.
I'll have Wi-Fi sometime.
Right.
That was my favorite. No, not the original. They did one later on with, well, Enterprise. It was on TV. Stop back to it. I love that one. The next one was on Picard. I like it.
Man, I gotta go back to the original.
My husband likes the originals.
The original ones were the best. Leonard Nimoy.
Well, yeah.
Hell, I can't do it. Because I'm doing this.
Because I'm old, so I like the ones that I grew up with.
What? The originals are a little hokey.
Just a little.
The triple.
Just a little.
Oh, I love the Trouble with Trouble.
Have you ever seen those kind of dishes?
Yes, my husband's mother had. Are you talking about the dishes or the silverware?
dishes.
No, I haven't seen the dishes. I'm looking at the silverware.
It's called Feather Edge. It's like 200 years old. that's what I collect. It was,
Well, I'm not- I'm just asking
it was
anybody
made by
that's down at the
several different potters in England, in the Staffordshire and Leeds area. And they exported it to America for the colonists.
Okay.
It was like the everyday
We're
life.
gonna go ahead and get started tonight. This will be our last meeting. We'll break for summer. I think we start back, I want to say either August or September. I'm thinking it was August. We usually start back. Kay'll let me know. Tonight, we're going to talk about searching for your ancestors on the internet. We've talked here and there, bits and pieces about things and tips to do that, but I thought we would kind of talk tonight about that. How many of you search for your ancestors on the internet? All of us. Hey, there's nothing wrong with books. There's nothing wrong with, no, there's...
Aaron's Choice in the Boner book.
The internet is a tool that we use for genealogy research. If you have ever done genealogy research the old-fashioned way before the internet, come on in, Carolyn. Before the internet, you would know what that was like. Writing a lot of letters. I'm going to get this.
I'm dragging you here.
There's a chair here, Carolyn. There's a chair right there. Okay. You had to write a lot of letters, you had to make a lot of phone calls, and lots of visits to places to find the information you were looking for. So with the invention of the internet, it has made it a lot easier for us to find some information, but I have found that it has falsely given some people the thoughts that if it's not on the internet, that it can't be found, especially new genealogists. And that isn't the truth, because the internet, the amount of information, genealogy information that's on the internet is probably about 5%. Everything else is still housed in courthouses, still housed in archives, still housed in libraries, historical societies, college special collections. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. I still read information today from places that are just starting in archives, and when they describe where their records are stored, it's no wonder they're not on the internet, because they're still stored in basements and attics and in boxes and never has been touched or scanned or even looked at. So our first little section there, it says rules to follow when doing internet research. The first thing is, don't believe everything you read and find on the internet. That's another mistake. Miss Pat. That's another mistake that genealogists make. We're so excited that we find something on our ancestor that we could run the risk of believing it when it may not be true. And it could send you down a very long path, and when you find out or realize that it's the wrong path, you will hate yourself for all the energy that you put into it, because I've done it. It's not something that a new person does. I've done it too, whenever I knew better. So don't believe everything on the internet. Sometimes you get on these family trees and people have it all the way back to Adam from the Bible. And say, here it is. Well, yeah, I would be very suspect. And even if they have names and dates and stuff, people sometimes connect people with the wrong people. Yes, Vanessa?
I'm having, I found a lot of people who really wanted to be in, and I don't mean anything bad about this, but really wanted to be in the DAR.
Yes.
So if they could find anybody with a similar name that would qualify them, they would hook to their tree whether they really belonged or not.
Right.
I found that to be true.
Yes.
And then I found another family tree on there that said that somebody in Robertson County was their ancestors. But all you had to do was look at the 80 census, and there was a guy in Robertson County named that, but there was also one in Houston County named that. The one in Houston County is zero.
Right. That happens. Some people, we all have that frustration of not being able to find a parent or not being able to find that person we're looking for. But some people go to the point of they get so desperate they just attach it to anybody because they don't want to fool with it anymore. They don't want to think about it, and they just attach it to somebody and think, okay, they're attached, move on to the next person. Well, I guess that's fine and good, but when you come back around to it, you're going to figure out that it's wrong, and it may send you down to do some research that you didn't have to do. Another thing is a lot of people, what are called name collectors, they see how many people they can get in their databases, you know, and they're very proud of their big numbers and everything. And that's great. If you have tons of people in your database, that's great. But make sure it's all correct people and they're connected to the right people. The second thing is the internet does not have it all. Like I said, there's probably only 5% of the genealogy material actually on the internet. Now they're adding stuff every day on different websites. But there is millions and probably billions of records out there that are still out there that we can't get on the internet. One of the things that I teach people that's, I think, one of the most important things about researching your ancestors online is their location. Location, location, location. If you do not know where your ancestors were from, if you do not understand the area where your ancestors were from, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Now, you may like the idea of researching your genealogy, but you don't like the idea of having to do research of a history of a place, the boundaries of a county or a state. But it's important because sometimes your ancestors didn't move. Sometimes the boundaries moved on your ancestors. And that comes into play when you're doing research. Because while you are just bound and determined they are in this county, the boundaries could have changed. And they may not have moved, but the name of where they live is changed.
I was fixing to say, and also, they may not move, but the state line will move. I've got one that is right on the Tennessee-Alabama line. One census taker will come through, and it may be the one for Tennessee. Well, the next census time that they come through, it may be the guy from Alabama comes through and goes, oh, that's in Alabama. The line may not have moved, but whoever's taking the census at the time will say, oh, yeah, that's part of when it's not, or no, that's theirs when it's actually his to do.
Right.
And it gets very frustrating.
It
That
can
happens today. I've lived in the same place, and I've had 4 different addresses since I moved in.
Mm-hmm.
It moved it in.
That's the same with me. We've lived on the same piece of property for 23 years, and our address has changed 5 times. So, you know, especially when you're doing that kind of research, you're trying to find the property address or your ancestors. If it's changed like that, you've got to do your research. You have to familiarize yourself with the locations your ancestors live. And that can be kind of a daunting task, especially if you are trying to do it from a distance. It's possible, but it's nice if you can go there and do research on site, but you can do it online. You can do it with maps. You can do it with deed research. There was a book that I thought that the library had I was going to show, and it was about the U.S. Census. William Thorndale and William Dollarhide did this book. I have one at home. I should have brought it with me. But it takes all the census records in every state in the United States from 1790, I believe, up to 1920. And each census, he takes a map of that state, and he outlines all the counties. And he shows, that's in one color, and then there's a white color on top of that that shows what the counties were like in 1790. But underneath is what the counties are today. And then you go to the next census, and you can see the change. And then the next census, and you can see the change. So it's a very good resource. They don't have it here, but it's a good resource to show you that. It's, I can't remember the name, Mapping the U.S. Census is by William Thorndale and William
They have
Dollarhide.
one similar, now it may not be that exact book, but they have one similar to that in Marshall Library, because the
Yeah.
genealogy.
It's a cream-colored book with the blue mapping on the front. It's a very good book. Pay close attention to your city, county, and state boundary lines, and if they have changed. Like I said, they could have changed and your ancestor didn't even move. We know that here in Houston County because of how our county was formed. I have people all the time ask me, well, I'm looking for this particular information, and it was in 1869. Then I'll say, my next question is always, what part of the county were they living in? Oh, they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, why does that matter? Well, because we were formed in 1871. And so they could have been in Stewart County in 1869, which became Houston County, which means wherever records before 1871 will be in Stewart County. So that's important to know. If you didn't know that, you would beat yourself against the wall trying to find something in Houston County. Another thing that, what was that? Oh, Dixon or Humphreys, right. Another thing that people do that I hope none of you all do, I'm hoping that I've taught you well. Don't get stuck on the fact that you know your ancestor was in this place, one certain place. Because they could have moved. They could have gone visiting. They could have, elderly parent gone to live with the child. I've had people in the past tell me, well, I know they live there. I come to find out they moved. Or they went to live with a child. Or they got sick and their doctor told them to go out west. So that happens. Don't get stuck on the fact that I know they were there. Search the internet for any repositories that can hold records for your ancestor. This is a very good tool for researching your ancestors. What you need to do is find out what county your ancestors were from. Whatever state, try to narrow it down to the county. Do the research on the county, see when they were formed, things like that. And then, after you have found out the county and how it was formed, then you can search on the internet and you could find out what libraries are available, what archives are available, where is the courthouse located and what records do they have there. Now, more and more, these places are putting websites up. And a lot of these places are actually putting, if they're not putting the records, images and indexes up there, they're at least telling you what they have, so you can contact them. And these, like I said, it can be a library, it can be an archives, it can be a historical society. Now, our historical society here doesn't have a building and a collection per se. They give all their collections of records to the archives. But some places have very large historical societies, and they have their own archives. And so that's a good one. When looking into courthouse, the county clerk's office, the register of deeds office, trustees, assessment of records office, and those kind of offices, find out what they have, and usually on their website they have contact information. Contact them, send them a short email, telling them specifically what you're looking for. Don't just say, I want everything on John Smith, because you'll never get a response. Because they are busy people, especially at a courthouse, regular office like that. They're busy people, and if you want something from them, you're going to have to be specific. If you're looking for a deed record, say, I'm looking for a deed record for John Smith. The deed would have been between this date and this date. If you don't know the date, and hopefully, if you don't know who bought it or sold it, the other party, just give them that much anyway. And see, usually they reply to you. Now they'll reply and they may say, you can get a copy of the deed, send us this amount of money. Sometimes they charge. I can tell you that I was quite surprised that a couple of weeks ago, I contacted the National Register of Historic Places. And there is a house in Stewart County, Cumberland City, called the Brunson Hollister House that there's a group of us that are working on trying to do something with that house. It actually is owned by TVA now. They bought it about a year ago. They were going to tear it down, and Miss Nina helped for them not to do that. So they're not going to tear it down. But now we have formed a Friends of the Brunson Hollister Homestead, hoping that we can do something with this. So it's on the National Register of Historic Places. So I thought, well, let's see if we can't get the records. The house and the property is on the register, and then the Brunson furnace that is out there on the property is separate, but it's also on the register. So I just Googled, looked for National Register of Historic Places, found their website, found an email. I sent them an email on a Sunday requesting, so if you have any records, if you could send them by email, please do. If not, please let me know what the fee is to have them mailed. On Wednesday, they mailed me attachments of the records. And it included photographs of the house taken in the 1980s. So I was very surprised that they, pleasantly surprised that they responded so quickly and with just sending the records out. So it was interesting too because the Brunson furnace, they actually redacted some of the information and sent me an email. They said that it was private information, not private information, but it was secret information. And all it was like the location, like the address or where it's located, which I know where that is. So I'm not sure why they did that, but they gave me a law to go look up. So nowadays, which I mean, even 10 years ago, it was difficult to find email addresses and websites and contact a lot of these people. Now, just within the past 10 years, a lot of people have stuff online and contact online. So do that. Find out what these local places are and contact them and tell them about your ancestor, tell them what you're looking for, and see if they may not help. They may forward you on to somebody else. They may say, well, you might want to check with these people. And so then you can follow up and check with whoever they suggest. Before we go any further, we're going to stop and get pizza because it's here and I don't want to get cold. You're back to good at charge back there.
Get information from Dixon online.
Oh, yeah, documentation, you can really print the black and,
it's always
but it's not as wetness.
So get away talking. I had a couple people come to me after the last one and said, I saw you. I just can't stand to watch myself. Yeah. I can cheat myself too bad, so I just don't watch it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and keep going. Y'all continue to eat. Just keep your ears open. So we're talking about finding things on the internet that will help you find your ancestors. Now, like I said, knowing the location where your ancestors were living is very important. Now, we all know when we do our genealogy, so-and-so was born on this date in this county, city, state. We need to pay closer attention to those areas, to those locations, because it will ever actually help you. I know someone that has a map. Well, actually their ancestors they were very lucky. Their ancestors stayed in one state, but they moved around within that state. And so they have a map of the state on their wall, and they've taken push pins and string, and they've mapped what we would call their migration, where they went, how they went, so they could map how they went. That would be something I would have to do because I can't visualize. Mapping is not my forte. Maps are not. I get lost in a bucket, so I would have to do that. But you can do that too. We talked about checking locally for libraries, archives, courthouses, historical societies, museums. Some museums actually have records like that. One thing that people do not pay a lot of attention to that I think is a good place to check, and not all colleges have these, but some of your major colleges have what they call special collections, manuscripts and special collections. If your ancestor isn't just a poor old dirt farmer somewhere, if he has some kind of notoriety or maybe have produced some papers in the past because he was in a position to do so, there may be a college somewhere that has his papers or her papers. And it may not be online that they have them. Sometimes you can find an index or you can find finding aids, but don't overlook universities, especially the major universities. They all have these types of collections. Funeral homes. We've talked about funeral homes in the past. They can be a great source for records. Like I said, sometimes now they're getting a little bit better about answering emails, but I still say type up that letter and send a self-addressed stamped envelope. They respond better for some reason with that. I guess because of the self-addressed stamped envelope. They figure, well, she sent me the envelope, I better put her something in there to send it back.
How long should you generally wait after you send it before you?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I normally wait about a month. If it's a real small funeral home, maybe a little longer. But if it's a big cemetery or a big funeral home, I give it a month, and that's usually probably kind of long for a large funeral home. So, yeah, I give it about a month. Another aspect of doing research on the internet that I believe is an asset was using Google to your advantage. Now, I'm sure that some of us use different search options. I use Google because that's just what I started out using, and I'm not a very good person when it comes to change. But I'm sure this could work on any search engine that you use. Or try all the search engines because you might get different results. But on Google, put your ancestor's name in Google. You never know what you might get. Now, if your ancestor's name is John Smith, you're going to have to put John Smith in parentheses plus a date of birth, the date of death, city, something else to make him a little more unique. Okay? Because there's another option that Google has called Google Books. Have any of y'all been on Google Books? We've talked about, I think, in the past. Like, Google Books can be a good resource. I have actually found information there that I didn't think I'd find. Did I put it? Okay, yeah. Books published before 1923 are public domain and are not under the copyright laws unless it has been renewed. If they have renewed it. So if you find a book on Google Books before 1923, you will be able to see the whole book. Now, there are some books after 1923 where, for some reason, the copyright is not copyrighted anymore. You can still see it. One of the things that I find on there a lot is local history books, kind of like our History of Houston County. If this before 1923, you can see the whole book. There are a lot of government books on there with government records that is in a book form that you can access. I go to Google Books, I put in my ancestor's name and see what comes up. You might be surprised what you find. So try Google Books. We're going to talk about Ancestry.com. How many of us have used Ancestry.com? Let me give you one of these. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Throw your phone here, put your name on there. Random drawings. I, like everybody else, love Ancestry.com, and I have a subscription to Ancestry.com. But Ancestry.com is not the end-all of the Internet. I'm sorry to say. It is a great tool. It's a great source. The family trees are on there are great. They are. I agree. Use it for a source. But there's a lot more out there. Since Ancestry came on the scene, there's been a lot more to come on the scene after them. So don't get stuck in Ancestry.com. Branch out. Explore other genealogy sites. One thing about the pay sites, you come across sites that you have to pay for, like Ancestry.com, Fold3, Genealogy Bank, any of the other ones. I only have a paid subscription to Ancestry.com. However, I've gone to these other sites and I have created an account. It doesn't cost a thing. You have to have a username and a password. And I have a book with all my passwords listed, but I don't tell anybody I use the same password. I'm not supposed to do that, I know. But I did. I created an account. A lot of times that will sign you up with their email thing to receive email updates of what's going on with their website. I get daily emails from Genealogy Bank. And I not a subscription or anything, but they send you out, sometimes you can find really great deals on their subscriptions for one thing. But they also send you out something like, if there is a holiday coming up and they have records on their site that have to do with that holiday, they'll run a 14-day free look at these records for this holiday. I've sent emails to some of you about stuff like that. So if you're already signed up, you can sign in and look at those particular databases for free for 14 days.
And how to sign up for free one's a credit card right off the bat.
I don't put my credit card in.
I don't either.
If they ask for that, I just move on.
Thank you.
But sign up. A lot of times you can just sign up with the username and password, and you can search, and it'll come up with results, but you can't click on anything or look at anything. It'll come up and say pay so much. But go ahead and sign up for an account. Not pay, but just for an account. Or sign up, sometimes they'll say to give them your email address for email updates. Get the updates. I mean, if there's nothing there you want, just delete it. But sometimes you might get something saying, okay, free for 14 days is this particular database. And it may be something you need to search, something you can find. So I would encourage you to do that. Another big site that's getting bigger every day is FamilySearch.org. How many of us have used FamilySearch.org? That is the Mormon site. The Mormons run that site. It's free, 100% totally free. You still have to sign up, username, password thing. They put records on there, I want to say on a weekly basis, because actually I follow a couple of blogs where, and actually you can go, I think maybe you can get an email sign up to get this. And they'll send you out a listing of what they've put on there recently. Yes?
Is there any reason why the Mormons do so much genealogy? I mean,
Yeah, it's part of their religion.
it is.
You have to know your ancestry. It's part of their whole package religion. I don't know all the ins and outs
Right.
because I don't know Mormonism, but it is part of their religion. You're required to know their ancestry.
I think they can baptize for, they call it baptism of the dead or something. I don't know all the details about it.
I don't either.
Astrology don't know, but they actually can be baptized to save people that were
I have heard that.
for the grandfathers.
Yes.
I think that's part of it. I don't know.
My friend said, you just need Mormons to do your family tree. And I said, I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah, they're very big into genealogy, which thankfully for us and for FamilySearch.org, it's a good thing. There have been times that I have found, when I was looking for something, more opportunities and databases on Family Search than I have on Ancestry.com. I think they're really starting to surpass Ancestry.com, and they're free.
They've been doing it for so long
Yes.
before they went online.
That's
So
right.
It's a lot older, really.
Family Search also uses volunteers
Yes.
to index them.
You can actually volunteer to index records.
I've done hundreds.
Yes, you can.
It's free.
They'll do it. One thing that they've recently added, they've done two things. First of all, I don't like change. They've changed their website look, so you can still hit where it says search and still do your searches, but they've changed the way it looks. But another thing that they've done is they have put on there the ability to put family trees, just like Ancestry.com. Now, they just put that on there, and they're tweaking it, and they're doing different things with it, and adding things as they go along. But now you can put your family trees on there.
Now, I saw that and I laughed, but my aunt is Mormon, and that is something that they
Yes.
do. The only difference is that I have seen between different Mormons, some will not put like adopted children when they're doing their research, and others will.
Yeah.
So I don't know
I
if
think
there's a
that's a-
standard thing or just a certain little district or whatever.
I don't know how they handle that as far as a religion, if there's, if they have that. Some people choose not to, some people do. It depends on how you feel about it. That's like some people will put children that die at an early age on their family tree and some won't. So, you know. So Family Search, they have now got to where you can put family trees on there. So I would really urge, I've actually kind of migrated more towards Family Search than I have Ancestry. I'll continue to probably keep a subscription with them. But Family Search is really starting, I think, to overtake Ancestry. And they're free, totally free. And they have a lot more images, records, actual records. Now, how they usually do is when they put a new database on, a lot of the times, it's not indexed right away because they're waiting for those volunteers to volunteer to do the indexing. So you may get on there and find a database and it says browse images. Well, what that will do is it will take you to the images, but you'll have to do like on microfilm. You'll have to browse and see if you can see. Hopefully if it's a minute book, the index will be towards the front and you can look there for a page number. At least you can browse. At least it's there. It adds United States and international records almost every week. I've seen all kinds of different country records on there. Brazil, India, I mean, it's just all over the world, not just the United States.
Are you going to play in the Irish Heritage thing they're having over there? Would that be fun?
That would be fun, yeah. One thing, someone asked me about how do you keep up with your internet researching? One of the things that I've talked about in the past is about keeping a research log. And it's very tedious to do this, but I think it saves time in the long run. You can also do, I tell people to do this when you're going to archives and libraries and different things like that, but do this with your internet searching. Now I know that a lot of us get on the internet and we're here and we're there and we got this page up and we got this up and over here and we got, so I understand that. I do that too. We hop, skip, and jump. But if you want to streamline your research and not duplicate and spend wasted time, keep an internet research log. You can keep it on your computer. It doesn't have to be on paper. Just keep a window open. What I do is I keep a window open, and usually what I do is I create a file within this ancestor, every ancestor that I have, really. And whoever I'm working for on that time, I'll have that up. And as I go to different sites, I'll just come over here and just put a quick note. Searched this site for whatever. Go back to searching. If I feel like I've looked at a certain site, I note it on my notes. So you can do it right there on the computer. You don't have to write it.
You can actually go to the sites that you're looking up on and just highlight and do a Control-C for copy, and then go to your Word document or whatever,
Right.
do a Control-C.
Just anything.
Paste it in, and you don't
Yeah.
have to.
And you can also put these notes inside your family tree program. If you're using one, you can put them in there too in the notes section. Anything to help you know, I already went there. Okay, well, okay, I'll go somewhere else. The only exception that I would say about that is the sites that are continually adding records, like Family Search or Ancestry.com. I would still go back to those, or I would keep up with what they send you to let you know what they put on recently. Because that changes. If they may put on a record that you've already searched for there, and then when you search for it, it wasn't there. So I would keep up with that. One other thing I'm always asked about is newspapers. One thing that I do is I have ancestors. My ancestors are all from the north. My husband's ancestors are all pretty much from here, except for when they started to move away to other states. I find whatever it is, the local newspaper, wherever my ancestors were from or where they moved to, and I put them on my favorites, or sometimes these newspapers will have their obituaries in a thing where you can sign up to receive obituary updates. I know that sounds morbid, but you can sign up for obituary updates, which means they'll send you an email if it's a daily newspaper or a weekly newspaper, letting you know what the newest obituaries are. So yes, every morning I'm reading obituaries. But even today, believe it or not, you can get tips and help today. If you have one of your ancestors' family members, whether it's a second, third cousin, a third, fourth granddaughter that have died today, they could have information on there of other ancestors from their parents, siblings, just anything to give you a tip or a piece of information to go, oh, that's who she married. That's normally what I find is women who have, I can't find them because they've remarried, and so I get an obituary, and finally I find out the last name. So find out what those newspapers are, where your ancestors live, what their newspapers were. Subscribe to them online where they'll send you that, or put them on your favorites and check them periodically. Their obituaries, a lot of times they're archived. Now, a lot of these newspapers today are putting you on a time limit, is what I call it. They only have your articles and obituaries on there for so long, and then they archive them, and then you have to pay for them. They may show you the name, but they won't give you the whole thing. That's why I like to check mine pretty often, because I like to get it when I can get it, so I don't want to have to pay for it. So that's another thing to do. One thing that's which I don't understand why they have it, but they have not put as many old newspapers online as you'd think that they would have. To me, newspapers is one of those pieces, one of those collections that is a must. Not only for obituaries, but for marriage announcements, for what I call gossip columns. The little, like in our newspaper here, not now, but way back when, they have these little columns for all these little itty bitty communities, like the Stewart community or Danville. They would say, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith went to Clarksville to go shopping today. Well, you know, that's fine. You think, well, how's that going to help me? Well, if you're trying to figure out when Mr. Smith died, you know he's alive on this date, on this, when this newspaper hopefully was printed. Granted, the information may be a few days old, but you can at least do that. Then you just have the ones that say, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Smith came to visit, and her name is, well, she got married. So now you have her married name. Also, which a lot of people overlook, there are want ads that will list names of people. There are advertisements. Mr. Bill Hancock will cut wood for $5 a rick. Well, now you know Mr. Bill Hancock, who's your ancestor, used to cut wood. In the back of the newspapers, or in some sections of the newspapers, they have creditors' notices. They have estate notices. All kinds of things in the back. So, if your newspaper, or the people that where you let your ancestors live, their newspaper is not online, I would suggest you try to find what it is. If they have an online presence, subscribe to it, or get some kind of an email notification of the obituaries at least. I actually go and read the newspaper to see if I can find anything. But that's just me. There is a great website that is continuing to add newspapers, including Tennessee, and it's called Chronicling America. And many of you all use Chronicling America or have been there. It only has newspapers from 1836 to 1922 right now. And yes, the northern states are more represented than the southern states. Tennessee, I believe the national newspapers, they've started putting those on there. People from Houston County have been mentioned in the national newspapers, especially way back when. They actually used to have a column called Erin in some of the national newspapers. I've seen it. So on your back page, you'll see I put that website, Chronic America. It's the way that it does it is you can put your ancestor's name in there and search all these newspapers. And you can see the actual newspaper. So
You said Chronicle America?
It's on the next page, on your last page. See the website down there? No, it's okay. I said check, local newspapers. Does anyone have any questions about doing research on the internet? I mean, most all of us do it, but sometimes it can get frustrating. The thing that frustrates me the most is the actual searching. Because I can put in something and then I get all these results and you're like, I don't want all this, I just want what I want. So narrowing your search, don't put too much information in there, but be as specific as you can. Does anyone have any research tips about internet research?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand, how you go about, finding information on this Chronicle of America, LLC, gov. I mean,
Yeah, that's the website address. When you get on the computer, you type it into the search, and it'll bring up the website. And then you'll see on there that there's a search bar, and you can type in the person you're looking for. And then it will search all the newspapers in their database, and it'll bring you all the results for that. And it also gives you, of course, the ability to look at their catalog, and you can just look in like Tennessee newspapers or the national newspapers or whatever, where you're at, whatever state you're looking at. The websites I put back here, of course, are Ancestry.com, Family Search, Google Books. This other one I wanted to mention, the fourth one down, is US GenWeb. This is an excellent website. What it is a group of websites. It is all run by volunteers. And it's broken down by state, and then within each state, every county has their own website that has been hosted, that someone has taken on. If any of you have been to Stewart County's genealogy website, that is hosted through US GenWeb. And Jim Long, who runs that website, does an excellent job. He puts tons of information on there. Now, you're going to find some websites that don't have very much, but you'll find some that have a lot. So you can go to the state where you're researching, the county, and see if they have one, which most all of them do, and see what's there. They might give you the contact information of the county clerk, or other records, Historical Society, Archives, Library. That will help you to find that information. And then Chronicle of America, there's a newspaper website. And then the last one is the Tennessee, the TEL, Tennessee Electronic Library site. Now today, I went there, and, you know, they have Heritage Quest. Does anybody know what Heritage Quest is? It's kind of out of fashion since Ancestry's come on the scene. Heritage Quest is where everybody used to get their census records. It's a paid site. But through TEL, and if you put in your zip code, city, I think.
I don't know,
Or phone
you
number.
might be able to, but
It has to recognize you as a Tennessee resident. Okay. It has to recognize you as a Tennessee resident. But you get on there, you can go to Heritage Quest, and you can access those records on Heritage Quest for free. It's a paid site, but they allow Tennesseans to access it for free. They also have Tennessee records, like delayed birth records, death certificates and things, that they take you to Ancestry.com, and as a Tennessee resident, you're supposed to be able to look at these for free, even if you don't have an Ancestry account, paid account. However, today I went to the site, and I looked under the Tennessee thing, and it says temporarily out of order.
I think we just temporarily.
So, or temporarily offline, or something like that. So maybe it's something they're working on. It explains that it will take you to Ancestry, and that's what these all Tennessee residents are supposed to be able to see it for free. I have had times when they wouldn't let me. Even putting everything in, it still wouldn't let me. So, but that's a free site that's offered through Tennessee, Tennessee Electronic Libraries. So I would encourage you to put that on your favorites.
And if they ever ask you for a password when you get onto some of those sites, that, not necessarily this, but on some of the different databases, they usually use the word Elvis. That will usually get you into
Elvis.
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 It's all in lowercase, but
It is great.
the school system's been using L for a lot of years.
What else does it have on it? I only go to the genealogy, but it's got magazines.
It has all kinds of magazines
It has
and current
magazines?
newspaper articles, and
Mhm.
it depends, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of information.
There's a lot of educational,
Databases, right.
like ACT testing.
There's different, right, different,
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
categories of things, and they keep adding.
I would encourage you, we talk a lot about these different websites. I'm sure without you saying anything, some of you were saying, oh, that's intimidating, or I don't know my way around that. It's not going to hurt you. Go on these sites and check them out.
You won't break.
Explore. Now, if they ask for a credit card or any kind of information, don't give it to them and go somewhere else. But explore. Click on whatever they have to click on and just see what's there. I mean, I've done that, and I've run into stuff that I didn't know was there that I could look at for free. Every site will offer you something for free, just to get you to get to the site and hopefully pay for a subscription. So don't be afraid to click on stuff and look at it, explore. But really and truly think about keeping up with your searches on the internet somehow, because you can start running around in circles, and you don't want to get frustrated. What's your name?
Bonnie.
Bonnie. Well, I just started getting frustrated with research.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I said, when you get frustrated with your research, whether it's online or at a library or we're just at home or you're trying to figure this out, lay it aside and go do something else. Work on another family, work on another surname, go out, work in the garden, go do something. And then come back with fresh eyes at a certain point. Give it some time and look at it again. Another thing that I encourage people to do is if you have, I don't have a whole big stack, if you have a stack of records and information on an ancestor and you're stuck and you feel like you're just beating your head against the wall, put it aside. Go do something else for a while. Go research somebody else for a while. Come back. Take your records and look at every single page and read every single word. You may have missed something in your frustration. I've done that. Oh, there that is. How come I didn't see that before? Because you get frustrated and you don't see things. So do that. Anybody else have any questions?
It's not a question, it's just a comment, but that gym website
Yes.
really would be to people's advantage to go and look, because there's a lot of local family history on there.
Yes, there is.
I was contacted by a distant cousin
Mm-hmm.
for some family information, and I helped him gather a lot of information. And he's an elderly man, and he has actually put me as a secondary contact, so that when something happens to him,
Yeah.
I can keep updated.
Yeah.
But, you know, I live in Stewart County, but like my grandfather's father was a buyer, and there's a whole history of the buyer family. I mean, it's
Talking about the Stewart County site? Yeah.
so,
Yeah. And if you're having trouble with locations or trying to figure out boundaries or trying to figure out something, go to these sites because they'll explain it to you. They'll have histories of communities or they'll have history of why this was this way.
He
So,
even went, in this particular site, he and some of his family members even went over to Germany to try to research the ones that actually immigrated.
right.
And he tells all about that in that site.
That's good.
So, you know, I'm thinking if he does stuff like that on this particular family, probably that kind of stuff on.
Mm-hmm. But you're going to find that a lot of different counties and states, they don't have a whole lot, but there's a lot of them that have a lot. I mean, they have transcription of records, because this is all done by volunteers. And so, and I didn't put it on here, but I think most all of us know about Find a Grave. Do we all know about Find a Grave? Okay. That's a very good site, too.
It is.
It's all done by volunteers. So, any other have any questions before we have our giveaways tonight? Did everybody put their name on a piece of paper and put it in here? I don't want to leave anybody out. We're going to give away these 4 books, and then these are the photo albums that I talked about last month that are archival. I brought 2 of these to give away. So, pick one.
Pick mine, Mom.
Pat Davis. You may come up and pick you up something. I was going to give it up, but I think I'll let everybody pick what they want.
Are you going to do that? I don't know what I want. I'm thinking. You did an excellent
Yes.
job. I just don't know what to.
Put you on the spot.
I don't know whether I want to be organized or if I really want an album.
That's a tough decision.
It is. I think I'll
They don't have all day.
I think I'll go for not being organized.
What's in those albums?
Oh, they're just picture out their albums.
Yeah.
And they're archival where we can,
And in the back, you can put CDs. Or
Right.
just like,
in the back, they have a place for.
Vanetta,
Yes.
you can pick something.
Okay.
I'm
eyes than that.
I had it upside down. That was-
I'm gonna be like her, I'm not gonna know what I want.
Oh, it's awful. And here's where you can put different things and make, there was
Official
They use
guide,
Put the documents in there.
documents.
genealogy 101. Oh, who knows?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're nice and they're old. The pictures that we do with the archival.
Did you think about how to do that?
And that's what I did.
Carolyn Sykes.
Let's see if she's organized here. Let's see if she's gonna be organized.
I don't know what I'm gonna be, probably not organized.
Well, what did you get?
Susie. Pick one.
Genealogy 101.
Genealogy 101.
Miss Leah.
One of these days, that's gonna play.
She's gonna get you organized, I can tell you.
Oh, she's gonna be, okay, next month, in August, when we come back, we're gonna see how organized she was.
Oh, yeah.
What did you get?
Organized.
Helen. Huh?
Oh, let me choose. What's that?
Roots.
I thought there was just one up there.
No. You got to choose.
All right.
She didn't do it.
Now I'll take the last one, whoever gets the one.
Thank you.
Miss Ann. She here? There she is. You get the last one.
All right, well, I'll get it.
I hope everybody has enjoyed our genealogy this year. We will be back
Thank you very much.
in the fall. I will send out emails to let everyone know. If I don't have your email address, make sure I get it. And you're welcome to get on the computers for until 8, or if I get a message that there's storms coming. I saw it was just going through Memphis.
Well, it was way too Memphis. But I asked the grandbaby.
Well, that wraps us up here for our We'll see y'all
They said it was all right
in the
there.
fall.
Things you need to make you aware of, we need to go back and get back in the fight on, and that'll be good. So it's kind of another town hall meeting. People ask me, are you enjoying it? And I say, I'm having more fun than I thought I was going to have. I mean, it's really been great. I really am enjoying it. And I think we've had a pretty good year. If you look at what we've done, the state of Tennessee has cut food tax again this year. We've cut the hall tax by raising the exemption, meaning the person who has to pay hall tax, they got to make more income to start the tax. So that's 2 taxes that are getting cut. The death tax, inheritance tax got cut some more this year. It's going to continue to trend down. But at the same time, we're cutting tax rate. Tax revenues in the state are going up. We're proving Reaganomics. There's no better word for it. That's what people call it. If you cut the tax rate, you actually increase the tax revenue. It seems counterintuitive, but it's been shown every time it's been done to be true. And that's what we're doing in Tennessee. We put $100 million in the rainy day fund this year. That rainy day fund, of course, in 2007 plummeted when the economy dropped off, so we've got to replenish it. Last 2 years, they put 50 each year. So they continue to put money into the rainy day fund. This year, we're going to put 100. The budget is balanced for this year.